Welcome back to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. It's me, Mark, and you'll see I've got my usual co-hosts on duty tonight. Jamie's gone off on holiday with the looks of it, and Craig is in his usual location. We'll start with you, Jamie, because I think you're a few beers in and you might fall off that chair in a second. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. I'm 8 beers in. I'm at the Belfry, so if anyone plays golf, I'm at T1 at the Belfry, which is if your golfer is a big thing, but to me, it means absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
And within 6 seconds, we have a swear word. You know?
I've got standards to keep.
And how are you, Craig?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's nice to be back. Sorry you missing last week. I was sad to not be there. It was good though. Enjoyed listening to it. Some good chats with you guys on Lawrence. It was interesting. We'll give Mark a week off for some army lingo this week to let it play.
Well, that's it. I need to really brush up on that. And I said on that recording that I hate quoting you. I kind of have stuff you've said pop into my brain, and I'm thinking, I hope I got that right.
Now you know how we feel when you speak Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem.
And all that stuff.
So I think this week we'll kind of have a little bit of an overview of what we've found so far, if you like, from some of the different people who've come on to speak with us, and our own experiences of training. I know you've left training now, Jamie. I think you're fully out.
Yeah, I've left. This in fact, I've come on because I'm here. I'm not trying to be a flash bastard, but I've got a job. This is my work's due. They've invited me to the summer ball, and it's like it's 200 quid to play around here. I just want to emphasise the fact that I started off crawling around voids and stuff 22 years ago. Look at me now. I'm on a PJ golf course drinking booze. It's all free. So yeah, so keep at it, lads and ladies. You couldn't like me, which might be a good or a bad thing. I don't know.
It is a good thing. And you've got your training course that you've put out for free on YouTube this week. We can't not have you sat there and not mention that. I've listened to the first 2 episodes already, and I was very impressed with the content to swearing ratio.
I thought I was going to say I was impressed with the content, and I was going to get excited.
No, it's good. I really enjoyed it. I was actually laughing my face off in the van listening to you. So it's really good.
I'll just say, yeah, I've had a couple of people message me on Twitter, and the reason I put the swearing in is, one, because I do like swearing, everyone knows that, and 2, I know some lesser establishments will show videos off YouTube as part of training, which I don't want them to do. I don't want people giving out my playlists. I don't want people putting my stuff out there as their own. So by putting swearing in it, I completely render all that useless. So that's one of the reasons. And also, because I just fucking love swearing, and I wanted to produce a course for real sparkies who are on the tools, who are scumbags like me. So there you go. If you want to if anyone wants to sit a 17th edition, 18th edition course off the back of that, the first person says they'll do it without anything but my course, I'll pay for their exam to see if they get through it.
But the other side to that is obviously shows that, and it may be a shock to us all, but you've got something in there, Jamie, because Sam credited you this week on Monday Club that the first episode you'd made helped him without the label up his book for his exam. So
what it was is I knew that tip would be useful to Sam, so I made a video and I put it out on YouTube. I got about 4 or 5 reviews actually, and I thought, you know what, I've got a whole course of this, so I banged the whole lot out, sat in my bedroom in the dark with my lights on there for about 8 hours, and I've edited it all. Took about 20 hours in total, but I don't mind stitching up a training industry, because the training industry sometimes happens to stitch up sparkies. So yeah, if you enjoy it, let me know. If you don't enjoy it, let me know anyway. I can take the fuck off.
That was one of the clips I think I laughed at when you said that, mate. It's brilliant.
Yeah, you've got to be firm in this game. Yeah, if you like it, great, then enjoy it and hope it's useful to you. If you don't like it, fuck off.
Excellent. So coming back to speaking about training and the apprenticeship thing, there was a post on LinkedIn today. I don't know if either of you saw it, but it was an employer basically saying they're giving up on hiring apprentices because they can't get the training for them. They're like a medium-sized company. I think they've got 50, 60 employees in total. I think they have about 10 apprentices. And they were just saying that they've been given mechanical lecturers or lecturers where they're just doing health and safety for a year and adjusting the layout of the course because they don't have electrical tutors. And that's a bit of a worry. And it's not the only message I've had along those lines into Apprentice One-to-One. I think we're kind of disengaging a bit with employers because maybe the training sector isn't quite where it should be. Is that?
Why don't we get them on, Mark? I would say first.
I've
before
asked
we
them
start.
today. I've asked
Let's
them
get on
today.
it and let's ask them why. But it's got to be all over it. Why aren't people? Craig's not training much anymore. I'm not. And why is that? Why can't they keep him in the training industry? Which is a shame because that firm's got 10 apprentices. They clearly want to train people, but they can't.
Well,
It's a real shame.
I think the real fine line battle for everybody is between industry paying as well as it does compared to education having its limiting factors. And I can predominantly only talk about colleges and funding and government guidance. They are limited. You know, you take any college is governed by the FE commissioner for the government, and they are audited on a yearly basis. And they can only have a set proportion of their money coming into the college to be wage bills. And I think that's about 60% of their income, 60 to 65% of their income is all that is actually allowed to be used on wages. So straight away, there's a limiting factor being put on because, yeah, you can go and pay your electrical lecturer 50 grand a year, but they can't work if they've not got an exams team, if there's not a student service, if there's not all the other bits and pieces going in behind that. And when you've got everybody from security guards and receptionists all the way through to the principals of the college, all only being able to make up 60 to 65% of your income as your wage bill, that's a massive limiting factor that impacts training. And my opinion would be in most private companies, the biggest cost you've got is your wage bill.
Definitely. I mean, that's got to be the biggest cost, hasn't it? If that's what's, you know, you're saying you can only spend 50, 60%. That's, you know, with inflation going the way it is at the minute, how does that really marry up, I guess?
I'm guessing as well, a lot of the old boys, and I don't use that term, the old boys, but it was old boys with flat caps on who trained. They would cover a lot of the training because it suited them. They didn't pay that well. They were topping up a pension. But obviously, COVID mopped them all up, didn't it? And I noticed that in loads of trades. So now, who's going to replace everyone who's over 50, which is a lot of people in training? No young lads want to do it because you can still crawl around and get dirty, no good money, which is a shame, really. But someone's going to have to pick it up because otherwise, there won't be anyone.
Well, generally, the market, if you're looking for a lecturer, your general market is somebody who's been on site, can't do the day-to-day site anymore, therefore can pick up a bit of a pension that they've maybe not got from being on the tools for however many years, and they'll stay there for, you know, come in at 50, 60, whatever it may be, 5, 10, 15 years, pick up a bit of a pension because the government pensions are good in education, get 50, 60 days holiday a year and just slowly start to wind down towards retirement. Or, you know, you're looking for people who have maybe injured themselves on site early on and therefore they can't be insurable on site anymore, so they come and train in colleges. Most people who are qualified and are actively working are going back to industry at this point in time because it is so good. You know, you said the same about me. I'm on the same journey. You know, I got the college I've been at have been good to me. They've looked after me. I can never and won't ever have a bad word to say about them. But somebody comes along and offers you a 7 till 3 working day instead of an 8 till 6, and it's, you know, fuel paid for, money's there or thereabouts, stress is a different level. You know, you start to look and it becomes less appealing to be in education than it does to be back out in industry, and that's a shame.
This seems to be a real problem.
I'm going back. I'll say it now. I'm 40 now. I'm going back. But that might not be for another 10, 12, 15 years. But in the meantime, I don't know what to do. But unfortunately, I've still got a mortgage to pay. I've still got things I want to do. I've still got holidays I want to go on. So I'm chasing the coin because that's what I do in the trade. And the coin's there. So I hate to leave trading. I really do because I really enjoyed it. But I think everyone feels like that. Like there's better money to be made. So why should I sit around for not a lot of money, really?
Well, whilst it's a hot topic now, you know, you are, so averagely up and down the country, I see lecturers' wages going from anywhere from 22 grand a year to about 40 grand a year. And that's kind of the range. You see an average kind of spark in anywhere from sort of 180 to maybe 220 a day on site. It's not a comparable comparison at the end of the day, and that can't be changed by colleges unless something changes in government because they can't run the organisation with the constraints on them about how they.
The private ones can't they? But if we're going to talk about money, I was on 30 quid now as a trainer. I can say now because I'm not a firm, but that's decent money. So if you are a spark and you're not quite in love with spark anymore, but you can talk and you like interacting with people, it's definitely something to consider because the money's there. It's you can make good screw up if you're working locally. So I suppose we have to say that because I'd like to see people pick up the slack.
But you were on that as effectively a self-employed or agency member of teaching.
Yeah.
If you went into a full-time permanent role to get all the other benefits of life, you're not going to be on that. Right?
And obviously we're from different sides, aren't we? You're from that side of it. But yeah, I appreciate that. And I do feel for people in FE who have to put with not only kids being arseholes, because kids can be arseholes. I can say that because I was an arsehole myself. But effort to then see people on subbies coming in and getting more money must be disappointing for you. But it's just I don't know the solution. It's one of the times where I will say I don't know what the solution is.
No, I mean that was what I'd said on the LinkedIn post. I found it just while we've been chatting, and he basically said how, you know, he's keen to employ apprentices, but he feels the system for training them broken, and he wanted to know if anybody else had those same experiences or knew of training providers outside of normal local colleges. So he kind of given up with the FE providers in his local area, and a lot of the comments were from employers of a similar point of view. You know, so this seems to be, from what I've seen in Apprentice 1-to-1 and some of these chats that crop up on social media, like a bit of a reoccurring problem. And I said the same as what you just said, Jamie. I don't really know the actual solution. It seems to me it needs to come from a government level for that funding to be inputted, or a way of allocating it more towards the electrical apprentices rather than a bigger college as a whole. I really don't know, but it is a real issue because training seems to be losing a lot of the good lecturers that are wanting to do that job, and that's really sad.
When I came, I think I tagged you in a postmark on LinkedIn. The company I did my apprenticeship for, Can Electrical, I'll name them because they were brilliant, yeah? I tagged the guy that now is the managing director of that to you because they was looking for an apprentice, and they said JTL were not doing very well at getting them an apprentice. I'm not sure where it's gone, but what is interesting, a nice story, is that guy, his dad was my MVQ assessor who took me through my apprenticeship, and he was like an old boy, giving something back, going around sorting the apprentice out. And I felt like I had to help him out because they sorted me out of my apprenticeship. His old man sorted me out on my MVQ and that. I got through. JTL was very, very respected then. The college that was very, very respected. But as I've said, allude to another podcast on my own work, I've gone back to the college I went to working, and I didn't think it was that great. And I know that people doing MVQs aren't doing that great a job. And I'm not slagging them off. I know it's tight, but the industry's got to come together and up that. And it's only going to happen if we start moaning in the right way, not the way I like to moan, but in a bit more of a like, come on, lads, ladies, sort of life's that type way.
Well, I do think you know, with what we're saying on that, it's got to not sit solely with colleges, because yes, the college is doing the training, but if you're a standard apprentice, shall we say, for lack of a better term, you're in college 1 day a week. It's 20% of your apprenticeship is done in the college. We need to start getting back to having people on site where the firms care and enough to be making sure they're putting that time into the apprentices to get them set up and get them moving and get them like working and taking that time to train them, because I still see apprentices coming to colleges and people I speak to online and saying, well, we just get told to get on and do this, and actually we don't know why, or when we say we've learned this in college, we get told, oh, we never need that, what's the point, it's a waste of time. And it's like, we need to, I think, as you say, with the industry, we need to get it as a whole. You need one piece of the college kind of saying, well, we can make sure we come to this standard, because up and down the country, every college is just as sporadic as every electrical firm is sporadic. It depends on who stood in front of you at the time. And we need the government to say, well, actually, we need to be investing in trades as a whole, whilst we're here specifically about electrical trades as a whole, because there's a real skills gap in papers that they've published that say in the next 5 to 10 years, all the older sparks are going to be serving their time and coming off the tools and retiring, and we don't have that next line of young sparks coming through to be able to pick up that gap. So in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a bit of a crisis in the building trade as a whole, I think. And then we need employers to come forwards and go, do you know what, let's get rid of 0 hours contracts, or let's get rid of subbing, and let's start taking people on the books, and let's start building an apprenticeship program properly so that the 3 parts can work together. And in my opinion, until all 3 parts are talking to each other in that manner, we're not going to get a different outcome. One part can't do it without the other.
The thing is, and I've said this for years and years, a couple of bits for years and years, that's the son, sorry. Hey, for years and years, I've said I'm going to make good money when I'm older because the standard of apprentices is not coming through. And do you know how that's actually happened? I'm earning good money. I'm not proud of it. I'm just dismayed at it because it's going to affect everyone. I'm not happy that I'm earning good money because the standard of training's been so shit for years. And it's easy. I'm not going to. I know people might expect me to do it. I'm not just going to blame JTL or colleges or anyone. The problem with the electrical industry is, and people said this before, it's so fucking disjointed. Everything's disjointed. The train's disjointed. The schemes are disjointed. Who runs is disjointed. No one knows who's in charge at all. It's just a massive industry problem they've got.
We can't even decide what the electrical industry is, right?
You can't even decide what the qualification are for a gold card. Like, you can't decide what an apprentice is. You can't decide anything. It's disjointed. And then always the NIC, the ECA, the IT, they all just love lapping up what they do in a conference. But when it comes to actually doing something proper like this, they just also go, it's not really our job. JTL do that. We don't give any money or support, but fuck them, let them get on with it.
I have to be fair to the ECA with that one. They've done a whole sort of college program which colleges need to sign up to, in my opinion.
To be fair, I picked a load of random names there and just slag them off. So I didn't mean anyone in particular, but I just picked a load of random letters.
But people may not be aware, so it's worth, apprentices and college lecturers, anybody who's listening, going and looking at the ECA, because if you join up as an ECA college now, you're getting things like free electrical training packages and stuff to deliver to your students. That's industry standard software that you're getting as many licenses you need for free. They gave us 30 licenses at our college, and then Spencer came and gave up a day of his time and showed our students how to use electrical OM. That's for being part of the ECA College Association. Like, you're talking about preparing people for industry. There's free stuff out there. It needs to be accessed more.
But then just to I've got to go in a minute because dinner's about to be served, but just to reiterate, yeah, and it's no disrespect to Mark, yeah, why is some random electrical contractor from Yorkshire doing more work in the industry than the industry to get people jobs? Anyway, back to the studio.
He's waited 20 years to say that.
See you later, Jamie.
Anyway.
So yeah, to answer that question, he's made a good point in a typical Jamie kind of way, and I think he's right, to be fair, that maybe it's time that we start looking at our industry bodies and asking them to kind of represent us towards government. Do you think we're kind of at that stage now where it needs to come from a government kind of point of view? If we've got this skills crisis and we need this funding and to be training people better, maybe organisations like the NIC, the ECA, the IET, the JIB need to start lobbying government on our behalf for that? Is that the kind of thing we need to be looking at, do you reckon?
I think we do, because, we can sit here every week and enjoy ourselves and try and do a little piece of the puzzle, but we are, a little piece of that puzzle. It needs to be a much wider conversation and talking force about actually, let's start sitting around the table and having some genuine conversations around how we can make this better, and not just kind of paying a bit of hearsay for policy or however it works to get into power. Like, I've been in education for 10 years. I've seen very little change with regards to funding in 10 years. However, society has changed massively in 10 years.
It really has. And that's frightening that you're saying the funding's still the same 10 years later from where it was back then. I can't believe that. That's, even just normal inflation, never mind what we've had over the last year or two.
And there'll be an extra £500 here or an extra £1,000 there or whatever it may be. But when you break down, I think the average apprentice is funded for £9,000 a year, I believe. £9,000 to take someone through 365 days a year of training, plus all the materials, plus all the support staff, plus all the teams to be able to book exams, to make sure they're safe when they're in college, to liaise with the employers, to visit them on site. That really doesn't go very far when you start breaking it down at that sort of
No, it doesn't, does it? And like you say, if you've got an A-level student, they're in that college all the time, all week, um, with a teacher and a lecturer. So when you're having to go out and actually visit them, arrange assessments, look after their relationship with their employer, it does have a lot more work involved with it. And yeah, it probably is going to come down to that fact that the government needs to put some more money into it. It probably is as simple as that, but it's making it happen. And at the end of the day, it's taxpayers' money, isn't it? And that's in short supply at the minute. So it's a really difficult equation. And all the while we're sat talking about it and pointing out these issues and trying to offer little solutions of our own. As you've said, the ECA do some stuff. There's individuals like you and me who've tried to help in our own small way as well. It's not going to have the impact that's needed at an industry level, is it? We need to be realistic about that it does need to come from government. And maybe it is time. I don't know if they're doing this already in the background and we just don't know about it, but the IET, the GIB, all these industry bodies, CPSs, kind of lobby government for further education and colleges to get them the funding that they need.
Yeah, my gut feeling is those people in those organisations, I respect the organisations and what they do. There's enough important people in those organisations to get in front of the right people to have conversations. Whether they have and it's fallen on deaf ears, I don't want to go out and just say they're not doing anything because I don't know. But I think there is important people in there that maybe need to shout a little bit louder and maybe try and buck the trend a little bit to see if it gets us moving anywhere, because we should be having right now with Brexit and everything else going on, and I'm not political, but if we've got less workers and more jobs in the construction industry, how can that equate to having less skilled people to be able to do the jobs?
It just doesn't. And you speak to any employer right now, they're trying to recruit electricians, and it's so hard. There's just not the pool of workers that we need. And if you fast forward 5 years, or even less than that, it's going to be even worse as we're moving towards prosumer in the domestic markets. And I guess we've got all these new exciting training courses people are working on now to do with the domestic electricians and the new variants of the EV courses and all the changes that have been made to the traditional apprenticeship. But if they don't have the funding or the people to deliver it, it's kind of all pointless.
Yeah. And the thing I would say to apprentices going through this right now is stick at it. What you put in is what you get out. And if you put in over the next 4 years or however long you've got left to your apprenticeship, I think you're going to get out a pretty rewarding career. I mean, I've enjoyed mine, and I'm kind of restarting mine again and seeing where it goes for the next few years. It's a good time to be an electrician, I think.
Yeah, we said that a few times, haven't we? It definitely is. If you're coming into the trade now, putting the work in yourself to get there is critical. And just looking more longer term, it probably shouldn't have to be like that you do have to go to such extremes to get the training sorted, because we're seeing all these efforts, people who've come on to speak to us and what they're having to do to get through the training, the discussions we have on social media as well. It is a bit of a mess. And I am mindful that a lot of the good stories we're maybe not hearing about because people are just going to college and passing the course and getting on with things. That's the other aspect to it, isn't it? People generally go online just to complain. So I am mindful of that. Maybe we need a bit more wider industry research, I guess.
And I think it would be good, for us moving forward with exploring some of the other job roles out there. Like I've gone very much into a design and QS role. I know you as a business owner now are a bit on and off the tools from time to time based on what the business needs, but getting people to understand there's more than not just an electrician, because I love being an electrician, but there's other avenues that they can be going in. I was on site yesterday with an apprentice who was looking at some of the design software and asking about what they need to do. Do they need to do the 2396? Do they need to go and do X, Y, and Z to get there? And sort of having an enjoyable conversation with an apprentice in the firm that I work with about, this might be where he wants to go in the future, and all because he's sat there whilst I'm working on site. I'm still an office person, I have my laptop out. But it made him have a look at something different that he wasn't aware of. And he's a third or fourth year apprentice, just about to finish and stay on with the firm on the tools, but then is starting to think about other potential avenues he might do in the future.
Yeah, exploring the different roles that are out there is a great shout, certainly for some of the future podcasts. You know, we're going through the people on the different learning journeys, but we can look at different careers as well. I'm sure we could get plenty of people to come on and speak about what they do in the day-to-day jobs and shine a light on that for what's available. I know Mike, for example, who does Loadout. I know you know him off the world of social media as well. He's wanting to come on, and there's a few other people as well. So I think that'd be a good place to explore, mate. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's a clever boy, isn't he? Playing his Xbox one night and then opens up one of the most known tool shops for electricians at the minute online. You know, I don't have his brains, so he won't get that out of me. But it's just looking at what else is out there. The social media is great for people getting stuff off their chest, as you say, but actually it can also be really good for opening up doors and avenues to some of these other places for them as well. And it'd be nice to hear people talking about how they got through some of those different options.
Yeah, I mean, before we end this one tonight, we are going to keep it short and sweet because we was due to have a guest, but they couldn't make it. Their apprentice hit a gas pipe, so we're stuck with just us three. But how are you finding the new job? Speaking about different aspects to careers, now you've gone off into the world of employment. How are you settled in?
Settled in well. It's hard. Yeah, I've got no issue sort of saying that. For me, I've gone from doing what I've done in the forces for 10 years, then gone into education for 10 years, now come back out to learn the life of Ceri site for the first time because my previous experience was military, and then had to take it from the side of pressures of contractors. I've got 3 project managers in my firm and I'm the only designer, so I've got 3 project managers wanting me to give them what they need on a daily basis, which is good fun. But I've had to expand my own skill set. I've got to do CAD drawings and stuff now. I've never worked on CAD previously. So it's been an ongoing learning journey for me and a nice challenge to try and grasp some of those aspects, and many hours of losing my hair, as we can see, over CAD drawings about why I can't do it and why it won't just go where I said it should go.
Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? When you start doing stuff, I was frustrated with software as well this week, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's one of those things when something doesn't do what it should do, it gets a bit frustrating. But as long as you're enjoying it and you've settled into the routine, I guess it's all part of the journey, isn't it? And if you build that up into the career you want for yourself, that's what's important.
Yeah, and you just got to find the right firm with the right priorities and know what you want in life. So for me, the biggest deciding factor whether to leave education or not was a work-life balance of family life. I finish at 3 o'clock with the company I'm at. I'm generally home by 4 o'clock. That might have been 6, 7 o'clock previously in my other job. Across the course of the week, I get effectively another day of time back for getting a couple of hours each day to spend with my young family. If they were teenagers and didn't want to see me, that might be a completely different situation. But right now, that is a tipping point. And then I've found an electrical firm through people I've met on social media, predominantly Mike, because he used to be where I am. And they want to look after me and let me develop the side that I'm doing into something that it's not, because they're an ever-growing company and they're just getting bigger each day. So it's nice to have that opportunity to kind of make something what I want to make it whilst it fits my family life.
Yeah, and that's so important. And like you said, that's something a lot of people don't realize. I think that lecturers who are in colleges up and down the country right now are often working unpaid on an evening trying to get the stuff done that needs to be done. I mean, you probably did that yourself, Craig, while you were at Walthamstow, I imagine, working longer hours than you were contracted to get things done in the way it needs to be done. I know from speaking with Gary Hayes, for example, he did the same when he was in employment at a college. So we do need to be mindful that there's some really hard-working people in these places who are going above and beyond when we're saying things need to improve. And it's all about supporting them rather than calling them out. I think that's the big message to all this.
Well, when you came to us, Mark, when you come down and done that day where we were building that workshop and some apprentices and other people came along, that was in our half terms, and my whole teaching team are there when they would be on holiday under normal circumstances, given a day to try and get something in place, to try and do something different. And in some places, you will get people who will work in that manner and do that. If somebody's driving them, and in other places that won't be the case. And I think that's the disparity we see between organisations and education and finding that right fit. We were not doing everything perfectly, and we were not the be all and end all, but we tried hard. And I think as long as people are trying hard, then hopefully you'll get a better outcome.
Yeah, that's a great point to finish on. I think put the hard work in, and hopefully it all works out in the end. Is there anything else you want to speak about, Craig, while we're here, or are you're good to go?
I'm good tonight.
Nice one. So we'll try and get a guest on again next week. Well, sorry we couldn't bring them to you tonight. It was kind of planned out, but these things happen. Thank you, Craig, for giving up a bit of your evening to come and talk with me. Jamie's not here to thank him, but thanks to you as well, Jamie, if you're sober enough the next day to watch this back. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Apprentice 1-to-1 podcast.
Cheers all. Thanks.